boilers ignite conflicts that have been building for weeks. The Yen and the Restless spoilers for Monday, June 29 reveals the Newman family will anxiously wait for Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, to come out of surgery. Also coming up, Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, will think about he and his estranged wife's past. Plus, Jill Abbott, temporary recast Lauren Koslow, will surprise Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson. And Holden Novak, Nathan Owen, will comfort Claire Newman, Haley Aaron. YNR spoilers tease Billy and Kane will sit at the GCAC bar, wondering about a strange message they received about Jill. Billy will worry one of her colleagues is in town and will update them on her health. "I am perfectly capable of delivering that news myself," Jill will say, as she walks up. YNR Daily Scoop, Jill puts her hands up and tells them to stop. The three of them will sit down and Jill will tell them she heard Chancellor's back in Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, hands. "And you are running it," she'll say to Kane. Billy will pretend he doesn't know and he'll lash out, saying Kane always gets a free pass. "You constantly screw people over and you get Chancellor," he'll add. Billy will ask Jill if she brought it up to get a rise out of him. "Just congratulate him," she'll say. But then Billy will say he's okay with it, he has news of his own. "Sally and I are getting married and we're having a baby." Kane will congratulate him and Jill will ask if this is what he wants. Billy will say she's good for him and this baby's going to bring joy to their lives. "I'm happy for both you and Sally," Jill will reply. But as per usual, Billy will start whining. He'll remind Jill that Kane created an AI program and stole Newman Enterprises. "I'm a different man," Kane will point out. Billy will say he's heard that before and they'll start arguing until Jill tells them to stop. "Why can't you just get over yourselves and work it out?" Billy will ask Jill to look him in the eye and tell him why he's not good enough to run Chancellor. "Because that's the only way I'm gonna get over this." At Crimson Lights, Claire, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will take a break from the hospital. Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, and Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, will walk in and Victoria will tell them what's happening with Nikki. They'll grab a table on the patio and Holden will show up. Claire will tell him they owe a lot to his mom. Victoria and Nick will agree. Noah will ask when Nikki will get her sight back. Nick will say it could be days or weeks, or never. There are no guarantees. Victoria will decide to go back to the hospital as Nick calls Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, to update him. Holden advises Claire to stay positive. As for Claire, Holden will take her to the park. She'll point out some of the birds and say she used to do this with Nikki. "What if I never get to do this with my grandmother again?" She'll cry. Holden will tell her to stay positive and think about the next time Nikki gets to see her beautiful face. Meanwhile, Victor will sit by Nikki's empty hospital bed. He'll flash back to his estranged wife giving her wedding rings back to him. He'll take them out of his pocket and stare at them. Then he'll flash back to one of their weddings and the arguments they've had lately. Dr. Stephanie Simmons, Vivica A. Fox, will walk in and tell Victor the procedure is going smoothly. "The fact that you made all this possible makes me be in your debt forever," he'll reply. Then Victor will ask about her son and say he understands he and Claire are an item. Victoria will arrive and say yes they are. Stephanie will say Claire's been a great support to Holden, with all he's gone through lately, and she'll ask how she's doing. Victoria will say she's glad Claire has Holden to lean on. Then a nurse will walk in and tell them Nikki's out of surgery. Victoria will call Claire and Nick and tell them Nikki's out of surgery. Claire will head to the hospital, as will Nick and Noah. Finally, Claire, Noah and Nick will arrive, just as Nikki is being wheeled out of surgery. But she'll have bandages over her eyes and everyone will look concerned. Nikki will be brought to her room and the surgeon will say she removed the mass. But they'll know more when she regains consciousness. Dr. Simmons and Dr. Nottingham will leave the room and Victor will put his hand on Nikki's shoulder. "We're going to get you through this," he'll tell his wife. Then Claire, Noah, and Nick will look over at Victoria and she'll smile. In my view, this episode proves that old wounds never truly heal. Nikki's surgery is over, Jill referees between Kane and Billy, Holden comforts Claire. The halls of Genoa City Memorial Hospital were unusually quiet, but the silence carried more tension than any shouting match ever could. Every member of the Newman family sat waiting for one phone call, one update, one sign that everything would be all right. Victor Newman paced endlessly outside the surgical wing. His trademark confidence had disappeared, replaced by a husband terrified of losing the woman who had stood beside him through decades of triumph and heartbreak. Nick and Victoria exchanged anxious glances while Claire sat silently near the window. Even Nikki's closest friends struggled to believe that the glamorous socialite who had survived countless personal battles now faced perhaps her greatest challenge yet, saving her eyesight. At long last, the operating room doors swung open. Dr. Markham removed his surgical mask before approaching the waiting family. The surgery is over. Victor stepped forward immediately. Tell me she can see. The doctor hesitated just long enough to make everyone's heart stop. The procedure went according to plan. A collective sigh of relief swept through the corridor. But, Dr. Markham continued carefully, the next 48 hours are absolutely critical. We won't know whether the operation fully restored Nikki's vision until the swelling decreases. Victor nodded, refusing to let disappointment replace hope. So there's still a chance? Yes. The answer was enough. Victor closed his eyes for only a second before thanking the medical team personally. Anyone watching could see that underneath Genoa City's most powerful businessman was simply a husband desperate for his wife to recover. Inside the recovery room, Nikki slowly regained consciousness. Everything around her appeared blurry. She blinked repeatedly. The shapes gradually became clearer, but not enough to recognize every face standing nearby. Victor? I'm here, sweetheart. His voice immediately calmed her. I can't. Don't force yourself, Victor interrupted gently. The doctors say your eyes need time. Nikki reached for his hand. I was afraid I'd never see you again. Victor squeezed her fingers tightly. You will. Neither realized that Claire had quietly stepped outside the room, unable to contain her emotions. For Claire, Nikki had become far more than family. She represented hope. Watching someone so strong become vulnerable reminded Claire just how fragile life could be. As tears rolled down her cheeks, she nearly collided with Holden in the hallway. Claire? She quickly wiped her eyes. I'm fine. No, Holden answered softly. You're trying to be. Claire laughed weakly. I guess I'm not fooling anyone. Holden motioned toward a nearby bench. Sit with me. She hesitated before finally agreeing. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Sometimes silence offered more comfort than words. Finally, Holden broke it. You're carrying everyone else's pain. Claire looked surprised. What do you mean? You've spent the entire day making sure Victor, Victoria, and Nick are okay. And? But nobody's asking how you're doing. The observation hit Claire harder than she expected. I don't matter right now. You do. She stared at him. You always matter. Claire fought back another wave of tears. I just wanted Nikki to be okay. And now? I'm scared to hope. Holden gently placed a reassuring hand over hers. Hope is exactly what she needs from all of you. Claire smiled for the first time all day. Across town at Chancellor Industries, another emotional battle was unfolding. Billy Abbott had arrived expecting a straightforward business meeting with Kane. Instead, every sentence quickly became another weapon. You've been making decisions behind my back, Billy accused. Kane folded his arms. I've been protecting this company. From what? From you. Billy's temper exploded. You think you're the only one who knows how to run a business? I think you're letting emotions cloud your judgment. Before either man could say another word, the conference room door opened. Jill Abbott entered without knocking. Enough. Both men immediately fell silent. Jill looked from Billy to Kane. I leave town for a little while, and this is what I come back to? Billy tried speaking first. Mom. No. She raised one hand. I'll hear both sides. Kane remained unusually calm. I've simply been doing what's necessary. Billy laughed sarcastically. That's one version. Jill sighed deeply. You two sound like children fighting over the last cookie. Neither appreciated the comparison. Jill continued anyway. This company has survived market crashes, hostile takeovers, and family feuds. She paused. It is not going to be destroyed because the two of you refuse to communicate. Billy leaned forward. So whose side are you on? Jill smiled knowingly. The company's. That answer frustrated both men equally. Here's what's going to happen, Jill declared. Starting today, every major decision goes through me until the two of you prove you can work together. Billy objected immediately. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Kane nodded respectfully. If that's your decision. Billy glared. You actually like this? Kane shrugged. I like stability. Jill noticed the growing resentment between them. Whatever had started as a professional disagreement was becoming deeply personal. That worried her more than either man realized. Elsewhere, Phyllis watched events unfold from a distance. She had learned long ago that whenever Billy and Kane clashed, opportunities usually emerged for someone clever enough to exploit them. And Phyllis intended to be that someone. As evening settled over Genoa City, Victor remained beside Nikki's hospital bed. The monitors beeped steadily. Nikki finally opened her eyes again. This time the room appeared slightly clearer. She could just barely make out Victor's face. I can see you. Victor's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't perfect. Not yet. But it was enough to believe that a miracle might truly be happening. Outside the room, Claire and Holden shared a hopeful glance. For the first time all day, the darkness surrounding the Newman family had begun to lift. Yet in Genoa City, peace never lasted long. New rivalries, hidden agendas, and shocking betrayals were already beginning to take shape, promising that Nikki's recovery would be only the beginning of a far bigger story.